This video is about the famous people and celebrities who passed away in 1978 in the United States. This is the second episode. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Jack Oakey, he was born in November 1933 and he died in January 1978. His age was 74 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was stroke. Jack Oakey was an American actor, starring mostly in films but also working on stage, radio and television. He portrayed Napoleon in Chaplin's The Great Dictator in 1940, receiving a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Oakey worked as a runner on Wall Street and narrowly escaped being killed in Wall Street bombing of September 16, 1920. While in New York, he also started appearing in amateur theater as mimic and a comedian, finally making his professional debut on Broadway in 1923 as a chorus boy in a production of Little Nellie Kelly by George M. Cohan. Oakey worked in various musicals and comedies on Broadway's from 1923 to 1927, when he moved to Hollywood to work in movies at the end of the silent film era. Oakey appeared in 5 silent films during 1927 and 1928. As the age of talkies began, he signed with Paramount Pictures in 1927. He made his first talking film, The Dummy, in 1929. Jack Oakey died on January 23, 1978 in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 74 from an aortic aneurysm. His remains were interred at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park, Glendale, in Los Angeles County. Harry Winston, he was born in March 1896 and he died in December 1978. His age was 82 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American jeweler. He donated the Hope Diamond to the Smithsonian Institution in 1958 after owning it for a decade. He also traded the Portuguese diamond to the Smithsonian in 1963 in exchange of 3,800 carats of small diamonds. Winston founded the Harry Winston Incorporation in New York City in 1932. He had been called by many the King of Diamonds. Winston's jewelry empire began in 1926 with his acquisition of Arabella Huntington's jewelry collection for $1.2 million, the wife of a railroad magnate, Henry E. Huntington. Arabella amassed one of the world's most prestigious collections of jewelry, largely from Parisian jewelers such as Cartier. When Winston bought the collection after her death, the designs of jewelry in the collection were quite old-fashioned. Winston redesigned the jewelry into more contemporary styles and showcased his unique skill at jewelry crafting. When he died, Winston left the company to his 2 sons, Ronald and Bruce, who then entered into a decade-long battle over the control of the company. In 2000, Ronald, along with new business partner Fenway Partners, bought Bruce out from the company for $54.1 million. Junius Matthews, he was born in June 1890 and he died in January 1978. His age was 87 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Junius Matthews was an American actor in films, theater, radio and television. He was the voice of Archimedes, the owl in Disney's The Sword in the Stone in 1963. He was also the original voice of Rabbit in the Winnie the Pooh franchise from 1966 to 1977. Matthews began his acting career on Broadway in shows like Young Wisdom in 1914 and Annie House in 1916, before he got his first role in a silent film called The Silent Witness in 1917. He briefly stopped performing while serving as a private in the First World War. Over the course of the 1920s, he alternated between stage and radio productions. He later played the role of Tin Woodsman on a radio version of The Wizard of Oz. His distinctive voice can be frequently heard in supporting roles in radio, particularly westerns, when he was often cast as an old codger, miner, or master of the cook wagon. Matthews appeared on the short-lived series Luke Slaughter of Tombstone as Slaughter's sidekick, Wichita, and played Ling Wei, a Chinese writer, in Gasoline Alley. He also made guest appearances on several television series in the 1950s and 1960s. Terry Kath, He was born in January 1946 and he died in January 1978. His age was 31 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was accidental gunshot. Terry Kath was an American guitarist and singer who is best known as a founding member of the rock band Chicago. He played lead guitar and sang lead vocals on many of the band's early hit singles alongside Robert Lamb and Peter Cetera. He has been praised by his bandmates and other musicians for his guitar skills and his Ray Charles-influenced vocal style. Jimi Hendrix cited Terry Kath as one of his favorite guitarists and considered Kath to be the best guitarist in the universe. Growing up in a musical family, Kath took up a variety of instruments in his teens, including the drums and banjo. He played bass in a number of bands in the mid-1960s before settling on the guitar when forming the group that became Chicago. His guitar playing was an important component of the group's sound from the start of their career. He used a number of different guitars but eventually became identified with the Fender Telecaster fitted with the single neck position humbucker pickup combined with a bridge position angled single coil pickup and decorated with numerous stickers. Chris Bell. He was born in January 1951 and he died in December 1978. His age was 27 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was car accident. Chris Bell was an American musician and singer-songwriter. Along with Alice Chilton, he led the power pop band Big Star through the first album, #1 record in 1972. He also pursued a solo career throughout the mid-70s, resulting in posthumous I'm the Cosmos LP. All Musical Guide praised Bell as one of the unsung heroes of American pop music and noted his lasting impression, saying, despite a life marked by tragedy and a career crippled by commercial indifference, the singer-songwriter's slim body of recorded work proved massively influential on the generation of indie rockers who emerged in his wake. Bell's catalog of proto-alternative rock has inspired the likes of Elliott Smith, Beck, R.E.M., Teenage Fan Club, Pixies, Primal Scream, Afghan Wigs, Pete Yon, Wilco, The Posies, and The Replacements, all of whom have covered his music or expressed their admiration for Big Star in the press. His life was documented in the acclaimed documentary Big Star, Nothing Can Hurt Me, released in 2013 by Magnolia Pictures. Bell's life and the career of Big Star was documented in the 2018 book There Was a Light, The Cosmic History of Chris Bell and the Rise of Big Star. Gilbert Hyatt. He was born in June 1906 and he died in January 1978. His age was 71 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was cancer. Gilbert Hyatt was a Scottish-American classicist, academic writer, intellectual critic, and literary historian. Born in Glasgow, Scotland, Gilbert Hyatt is best known as the mid-20th century teacher of the humanities in the United States. He attended Hillhead High School, Glasgow University, and both a Snell and Jenkins exhibition, Balliol College, Oxford. His Oxford career was distinguished by a first classical moderations in 1930 and Ireland and Caravan Scholarship, 1930 the Chancellor's Prize for Latin Verse in 1931, and the first illiterate Humanioras grades Philosophy and Ancient History in 1932. He was appointed a Fellow of St. John's College, Oxford in 1932 and remained at the college until 1938, when he moved to Columbia University. He had met his wife, the well-known novelist Helen McCains, while they were fellow students at Glasgow, and they married in 1932. In 1938, he was appointed to the chair of Latin and Greek at Columbia University. He stayed at Columbia until 1971, except for British Army service during the Second World War. He became an American citizen in 1951 following his appointment as Anthon Professor of Latin Language and Literature in 1950. Thomas Finney. He was born in January 1925 and he died in January 1978. His age was 53 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was ALS. Thomas Finney was a lawyer and political strategist. He was born in Oklahoma and died from ALS. During his career, he worked with Clark Clifford, Senators Adlai Stevenson, Eugene McCarthy, A.S. Michael Mulroney, Edmund Muskie, and President Lyndon B. Johnson. Senator Edmund Muskie said Thomas Finney's death took from us a man who helped shape the history of our time. He's not a familiar name to most Americans, but it is to most of us. Is it possible, like Tom Finney, who proved that public recognition is not the same as public service? In his memorial service remarks, Senator Adlai Stevenson said Tom Finney required little of life for himself. He claimed little of the influence that was his in Washington. He aided just two causes. Often they were forlorn. He aided friends in need. His father, Tom Finney Sr., practiced law in Idabel, Oklahoma until his death in 1968 from cancer. Warren King. He was born in January 1916 and he died in February 1978. His age was 62 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Warren King was a cartoonist best noted for his political cartoons. King grew up on Long Island and received a B.S. from Fordham University in 1938. King was trained as a painter and attended Phoenix Art Institute and the Grand Central School of Art. During Second World War, Warren King served with the Army Air Corps, where his college education and artistic skills were both valued. He was honorably discharged in 1946 and returned to New York to resume his career in illustration. In 1955, King became editorial cartoonist for the New York Daily News. After working as Rube Goldberg's assistant, he received the National Cartoonist Society Editorial Cartoon Award for 1968 as well as several Freedom's Foundation Awards. He was a member of NCS and the Association of American of Editorial Cartoonists. King retired in 1977 and died in Connecticut on February 9, 1978. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.